Welcome to the Embers Podcast, where we talk all things Brisbane Survivor. I'm joined by our co-host Mal. Mal played Canberra Survivor with myself, and James, who's just dropped out because of his crappy Geelong internet. So welcome, Mal. Glad you're on the team.
Well, hello, Mel. First off, I'll go by Malcolm through the podcast. Otherwise, we're going to cause utter confusion when people say Mal or Mel. But I'm very glad to be here. Unfortunately, I couldn't do the cast assessment, but I listened to you all and was very impressed. Agreed with a lot of your takes.
Excellent. Well, hopefully James will join us at some point, but we'll just get cracking into the recap, yeah? So pretty much the first episode starts with the opening cast credits, which is great because I think that was the same as the little teaser that they did a couple of days before Ep 1. And then we get to hear first from our newest LRG host. So it's great that we've got a whole new survivor to follow. And Sam yells to the guys to come on in. So it's been a while since we've heard that little slogan, which was good. And so the cast come in. What was that? Sorry?
Is it still okay? Because obviously this game was recorded pre that changing on Survivor. Will he be forgiven by the community?
Yeah, 100%. And to be fair, a lot of people want that phrase to be continued to use. It's something that they've screamed with their family for, the last 20 years. So
absolutely.
Each their own. And so basically the cast walk into what looks like to be the biggest, giganticest backyard I've ever seen in my life. I've got to say I've got real estate envy. And we go straight into literally 7 of the 10 cast confessionals, which I thought was a really great way to start the episode because we didn't get a lot of meet the cast pre-game info. So I quite like this. The first person up was Tyler, and she basically said she wants to play a quiet game at the start and a more strategic end game, which I just love. Haley tells us that she's sick, which is a bummer. Imagine that. And she hopes that they don't think she's weak because of it. Liam, I've got to say, Liam is exactly what I thought Liam would be. He's being all Liam, saying he doesn't care about winning, and he just wants to have fun, and he thinks that's going to make him dangerous. Definitely on point with the orca call. He's my orca for the season. I thought it was really interesting that Alex basically gave us no strategy whatsoever. He just basically said he's been doing some studying and that he fishes, and so I guess he's a fisherman. It's just what? Anyway, that was gave me the giggles. I did like Georgia. Georgia basically said that she wants to use her connections, which is I guess how I would probably play it as well. But interesting, she says that she's going to play all the cast. So it sounds like I don't know whether that meant play each other against each other or just basically play up that she's with them to the end.
Yep.
Good old Nick, again, doesn't give us much, but just tells us that he works at, which he works at Coke. And I have to say, working at Coke's a pretty high pressure job. So they're pretty hardcore, I think, from the friends that I know that have worked there in the past. And then lastly, we hear from Andy, and basically she says she has no strat. Her strat is to have no strat, which I love because it means she's going to be really fluid. And I'm so here for that. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on, welcome James, everyone. James has got his Geelong internet issues, but he's joined us finally. So, James, we've just run through the opening and talked about the first 7 confessionals. So what are your first impressions on the intro and the production quality?
Yeah, look, I'll go first, James, if that's all right. So the production quality obviously visually looked really cool. And I also had backyard envy because the size of that property was this is sensational. What a pickup. Right. Coincidence, I think obviously you didn't hear my cast assessments and where I picked, but I was very similar to Aston. And I also had Tyler as a winner like you did yourself. And I'm going to make the call there. We hear from her first in the season. Will we hear from her last in the season as she takes the victory as well? I'm just going to put that out there. In terms of some of the others, I thought it was interesting, the Alex no strategy. And we'll talk more about Alex as the episode goes on because I think that we saw a lot more happening for Alex during the game than what he presented in that first speech. So that one was an interesting one. And Nick's the other one I'll talk about, because you guys had Nick as first boot across.
Oh, Nick, like he just looks like such a character, and it didn't come true, which I'm really grateful for, because I think he's going to give us a lot of content. But I know you had a very different feel to us.
I did. I was a huge Nick fan, so obviously could only read off what the information was. We all saw on the Brisbane Survivor podcast page, our Facebook page, and I actually had Nick finishing 4th in this game. So we'll see how that goes. But in fairness, I did have Lily as first boot, and I have majorly got that wrong. And when we talk about the episode, I think we're going to be able to talk and say Lily's put herself in a really good position after episode 1. So, yeah, I was very impressed with the episode as a whole. And for a first effort, Sam's done a great job. He was very easy to listen to, and we'll talk about a few of his moments through the show. But, yeah, good first impression across the board.
Yeah, great. I had a couple of notes too in regard to just, I guess, the opening credits and the quality. Like, I feel like the quality of the cinematography is actually really nice. Like, I mean, they're so lucky to have that beautiful backyard, but their wide shots in certain things looked absolutely great. I absolutely loved the little zoom in they did. It was kind of like a zoom in and then a bit of a freeze frame as they got to each of the player, which I thought was really cool. And some of them actually took advantage of that and did, I think Tyler did like a little wink, and, Kyle shaking his hair. So some of them did a little bit better than others, but I really liked that little zoomy zoom. Another thing that I loved, and it did actually feel like it tied in with the whole Queensland thing, was they had this really sick bongo beat music in the background at one point. I really liked it. It felt really tropical and felt really on point for Queensland. I don't necessarily think you could get away with that in maybe like Melbourne or Sydney, but it just felt on point for Brisbane.
Yeah, I noticed that. I particularly noticed that. This is jumping way to the end, but during the Tribal Council, popping away in the background there, and I thought it just added to the drama of what was going on. Like they've tapped into that really, really well as well.
Yeah,
and we might see James for a moment here. So can I ask you something, Mel? Because obviously after we saw our confessionals there, Sam just gets straight into the game, and they start off with the reward challenge, and they're about to match up in some battles. And just from a challenge perspective first, before the question I'm going to ask you, is that I was really impressed to see something so physical to start the show off. Being that looking through the cast profiles, they looked like a very physically fit cast.
Yeah.
And so seeing them get into it, and we had some beautiful hits, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second. But the question I'm going to ask you, so it's a one-day game, the reward and everything that came with it, you with it? Do you like it, or too much too early?
Yeah, I've got that down in my little notes to talk about when we go through the challenge. But yeah, I'm happy to chat it here now, because it was just me going to be a bit sassy saying, well, I know what I think of that reward, but James and I didn't win a bloody reward at all. So I feel like your input is far more valuable as to how that compares to what you got in Canberra.
Yeah, well, I certainly got a bit. Look, I think I'd take the aspect of, let's see what comes in the game. Now, if that was the be-all and it's outlining what you've got the opportunity to utilise during the day, then right from the word go, I'm pretty cool with it. Like, they've had to compete. It wasn't just a given. And if they have to make that last, all good. But if they're going to get a whole bunch of little rewards along the way, then you might say, for one day, is it too much?
Yeah, I tend to agree. Let's dig a little bit deeper, because I've got some notes in terms of what each of the tribes won. But before we lose James again, James, we just went through like the intro and what we thought of the initial cast. So what were your notes in regard to the actual opening credits and the first 7 confessionals? Because we got such limited information, and now we've seen a little bit about the cast. Were they what you thought they were going to be?
Well,
entertaining. I think we've lost James. I don't know whether he can hear us or not. Yeah, we'll just keep moving along. The only other thing I wanted to...
okay. But all right, let's focus while I'm here.
Okay, go.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Go, James. Now I can.
All right. Yeah, things I absolutely loved: production, music, chef's kiss, phenomenal. It was such a modernized sort of upbeat version of but still yet tribal music, which I feel like really fitted in. And I feel like it kept it fresh compared to other survival formats we've seen. So big chef's kiss to that. Slow mo action shots, chef's kiss, awesome. And then also your comments on the challenge being physical. I mean, yeah, I loved seeing the physical challenges. I thought it was brutal. Like, it's sort of something with myself having such a sporty background. I'm like, damn, if we had done this in Canberra, I would have fucking just like unleashed. But I think, yeah, because it is such a sporty cast, it appears, and they're a bit more sort of physical and athletic, you can get away with it, but not with every cast.
I agree. The only other point we haven't touched on, I wonder whether either of you noticed this or not. So we've got like the blue and orange tribes. The names are actually in green. So that makes me think that the merge color is going to be green. Okay, so cool. I think we'll just sort of go through the challenge. So I thought it was really interesting that, Sam basically welcomes them. He says that it's going to be a little bit different, obviously, because there's connections, some that are known, some that aren't. He says 10 people, 12 hours, one sole survivor. So 12 hours isn't very long. One of the questions I was going to ask you both is, because I know that we've each contributed to going overtime, and I know how competitive we all are. So are they going to run, and are they going to stick to that 12-hour schedule? Or if not, how far over do we think they're going to go?
Full faith in Sam, they're going to run on schedule.
Okay, I'm going at least 1 hour over.
I reckon it's hard because it really depends what time they started. I mean, if they started early in the morning, then I think they'll definitely fit it in all in, like within schedule, especially
he says
with it being
12 hours.
Small cast as well. But if it but depending if there's more physical challenges and it's some that take a little bit of endurance, then there's definitely a lot of it. I reckon I'm gonna.
Of course, you cut out when you answered. You're gonna say what?
Oh, I'm gonna say that they're gonna be on schedule and par.
All right, cool. So that's 2 on schedule, 1 hour. So I'm gonna ask Sam when we chat to him next whether they went over schedule. All right, cool. So in terms of the tribes, I won't go into that because we kind of already covered that, and that's all in social media. But basically, there's 2 tribes of 5, and Sam gets straight into the reward challenge. So basically, he says that there's no guarantees in Survivor about what the elements are going to be. And there's no guarantees about food, shelter, comfort, safety. And so to give them a better head start, the reward challenge is going to basically set them up, which I think for the day, Mal, but I know we'll touch bases or we'll see in future episodes whether they get anything more. So basically they're playing for a bunch of, food, comfort items, etc. So I guess just running through the actual challenge. So basically what the challenge is they're going to 1 by 1 pair off. They race down slip and slide. They need to grab a footy, and the first person to get the footy, touch it down on their coloured tribe mats wins that leg of the challenge. Each leg obviously has a reward. So there's quite a few matchups to go through. James, I thought, you being Mr. Sporty and while your internet is working, do you want to run through the matchups? Of course, he's frozen. All right, Mal, do you want to run through the matchups?
Yeah, what if I, because I'm also mindful of time, what if I pick out a couple of highlights there? So I noticed that Lily was the only female to go up in a female-male matchup there. And what I thought was really impressive was her last ditch attempt to throw the tackle onto, I think it was Kyle, which she went up against.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, I'm impressed by that.
I love it. Yeah, so I think there were some really great matchups.
James,
Yeah,
you're better.
I'll also say, and I think it was I've got to now. I have to admit to everybody, I've left my notes at work today. But Liam, was he the one who dropped the shoulder on? Was it?
Oh my God, that was the funniest moment. That was my favorite moment of the
right.
episode. Liam goes up against Sean and just like boof, like right at the end takes him out. And that sound effect, the slow-mo, it was just gold.
And the third one was, sorry, Jack.
Yeah, cool.
Go, James.
Poleaxed him. Like Liam just absolutely poleaxed him. That was like, it was awesome to see. And I love how it had the slow-mo leaning into it. And at the last second, Sam just sped it up, and then next thing you know, Sean's sitting on his ass. And Liam, you know, marches his way to victory. With the point, I was also impressed by Lily against Kyle as well. I was actually very impressed by Lily the whole episode, to be honest. And I loved how, you know, she's giving me off like, you know, very like lioness sort of vibe, like potentially could be, you know, a man-eater in this game.
Yeah, because I remember in the cast assessment, as much as I ranked her quite low, I did say that I thought she might be a bit confrontational. She's not confrontational. She's just a really strong woman, which I really, really love. And when she took on Kyle, I love that she didn't give a shit. She just tackled him right up front. Like, you know, he only took like 2 or 3 steps and she was in there trying to grab his shirt and pull him back, which I just really loved. And right at the end, even towards the end, she never gave up. She's like full on tried to tackle him, even though, you know, he was clearly going to get to the mat. But I kind of love that. Definitely.
I'd say the last one that before we move on to them heading back to camp, and obviously the choice of the reward was, I thought the Andy Georgia battle was the best matchup of the round. That was a real cracker.
Yeah, I agree. Just looking through some of the others. Yeah, Andy and Georgia was definitely a really good one. I have to say, Tyler just smashed her challenge. Like, she just smashed poor Haley. It was a very easy, appeared to be a very easy, you know, a really easy round for Haley. So, yeah, it was a good first opening challenge. I've got to say I made a couple of notes here in regard to what they got, because there's a little bit of a win you Kupidang going on. So I just I laughed because when you look at the rewards, the Soames tribe got the gazebo, they got the picnic blankets, and they got like the snack box full of the chocolates and the lollies. So I made a note basically that the Slomes are like living in the Hilton, but they've the only access is to the minibar full of like chocolates and sweets. And then you've basically got the Rogers, who have pretty much just pulled up some chairs to a supermarket, and they're just going to eat all day. They've got all the food, they've got all it looks like it's just a cooler full of water. But I just kind of thought that was a pretty funny analogy in terms of their game versus, I think the colors should be reversed here. Okay, so now we better chop because I'm just looking at the time, and as usual, we've been talking too much. So after the challenge, or the very last challenge, I should say, was a mystery challenge. And pretty much at the end of that matchup, it was actually Georgia and Andy who actually played for that mystery challenge. But of course, as we know, it gets to the end and they have to pick a tribe mate to go and make a decision. And we didn't see whether the tribe actually selected a person, but Kyle pretty much just came out straight away and said Liam. And of course, it looked like the rest of the tribe weren't consulted on that. So what did you guys think of that without him discussing it with the tribe?
Brave move, but I saw that he chose his friend from the pre-game connections. But I have to admit, watching the footage there, I thought like they don't look like two people that know each other.
And I also thought it was weird because he kind of said he's a real chill dude and was going to go with the flow. And I found it interesting. I liked it, but I found it interesting that he chose to be quite assertive and potentially put himself as a threat by people. You know, you could see already Sean was a bit annoyed by it. What did you think, James?
Yeah, Kyle literally was like, fuck all of you, I'm taking the bull by the horns here. Look at me. I'm the captain now. I'm choosing. Liam, let's go. On your bike, son. Let's ride off into the sunset.
He's like, chill no more.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely it was very contradictory to what seemed like to him having like a very calm and quiet persona in his first confessional, to then, like you said, being very assertive and very like, you know, all right, this is how it's going.
Yeah, exactly.
So
okay,
if we,
cool. So
jump forward.
But I will say as well, it's like in Cole's defense, it could just be a case of, you know, see someone he knows, he's excited, you know, the moment kind of gets better of him. You know, as we all know in Canberra, I literally called out Banfield Blake just because I knew him beforehand, just to sort of, you know, not for any reason, just other than like, oh yeah, it's a familiar face.
yeah, so, exactly.
If we jump forward, we saw them go into camp, we chatted there, but then let's jump forward to the immunity challenge. So we basically had an immunity challenge that was throwing a bit of water, move that up into a jar, get the ping pong ball out, move on, untie the crates, and then start to roll it up. So we got to get the ping pong balls into the bucket. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it looked like there was like 50,000 knots on that crate. It was probably one of the harder legs of the challenge, to be fair. I like a knot challenge. It sort of gives everyone a bit of a chance. The only other one that I would say is remotely difficult, which we kind of, well, some of us got a chance to do it, I guess. Actually, sorry, it was only me that got to do it, was carrying the water in the plates and filling up those little carafe bottles. So that was actually quite difficult, but throwing the water from one bucket to the other, that's also quite a difficult process.
So, James, we saw it come down to the end, and Hayley had a bit of a head start on Nick. Nick was able to catch up and win the challenge for his team, or get to the point where Kyle could run down and win the challenge for his team. How do you think about that? Did Hayley blow it?
Yes. To be blunt, yes, she did. They had a massive lead overall, and then she unfortunately just cracked under the pressure. And Ben saying that though, in her defense, Nick, when he did get the opportunity, he didn't look like he missed very often either. So I think it's a combination of both. But ultimately, Hayley did, probably did, cost the team the challenge because they had a significant lead.
And very shortly, Hayley will have the chance for right of reply there. So
exactly. I would say Nick did well. He really caught them up at that leg.
Did a great job.
Yeah.
So let's just leave our winning tribe at this point. And if we go to our losing tribe, so we see Georgia, Hayley, Alex, Lily, and Liam head back. Now, in between, we've seen Lily discover the idol note. Oh, sorry, that was before the challenge. So
that was the reward challenge. Yeah, it was after the reward challenge when they got their actual rewards, carrying it back to camp, and she noticed the clue, went to pull it out, and of course the whole tribe, she thought the whole tribe saw it. It was interesting that, and I guess I'll hear from both of you how you would think. At the end of the day, you kind of have to show them, don't you? So reading it all, you're either fully in or fully in. Like, you can't hide part of that clue, right?
Yeah, once you're caught, you've got to own up. You can't get out of it at that point there. So we obviously know through hindsight that Alex found the idol there. What were your thoughts when they went back about the way that Alex dealt with the fact that he held it? And sorry, he found it. And I sort of got the impression that none of his tribe mates really called him out on it, the idea that he might have had the idol. So how do you think he played that?
He played it really, really well. The fact that, and what I'd be keen to understand from Hayley when she gets on was how they structured who went on what station, because potentially, like, if Alex was to put himself on that actual leg where you're filling of the bottle, he becomes an instant target. So I'm wondering whether he deliberately put himself on either side so that he could, when people were distracted, go and grab it. So I'm keen to kind of understand how he did that. He did it really, really well. He thought that Hayley may have seen him, so I wonder whether that was actually part of his strategy to target her just in case. What did you think,
I thought
James?
as well. I thought the whole thing, the big factor. I thought Alex definitely played it very well, but I think he was definitely aided by the fact that he sat there, he listened, he shut up. Other people threw out suggestions and theories of what could have happened, and he went with the flow. And that's what I think. That's why I think it was a key part in him, potentially getting away with murder.
Oh, 100% agree.
So, James, we were seeing it seemed that Georgia and Hayley were the only two names seriously thrown out. We did hear Liam in there slightly, but I'm not sure that was too serious. Talk through the Georgia and Hayley and how they went about trying to save themselves at this point of the game.
Yeah. So I kind of saw them painted too differently. Hayley seemed very indecisive, very kind of very sort of shy and sort of scared and unsure, which I kind of think, gave anyone that she was probably trying to talk to no confidence that it could actually get across the line, where Georgia was like, recognized she was in trouble, showed good game awareness, and, threw Hayley under the bus to save herself, and was confident in her approach and had logic and reasoning. So I think, Georgia played it very well, recognized her position and did what she needed to do.
Yeah, I agree. She, the first opportunity, she went straight to Lily. I think Lily being the stronger, or what I perceive as the stronger female, she wanted to get her on board because it's more likely that the men would be pairing with the stronger female. So I think she picked her approach really well about who to have that initial conversation with. She did really well. And as you said, Hayley just didn't, and I don't know how much of it was her being sick, but yeah, she was definitely the meeker of the two.
So we went to Tribal Council and we saw Hayley get voted out. Mel, did they make the right move?
If you're Georgia, then yeah, 100%.
Yep.
But I think that you've got to remember that the other tribe has 3 guys and 2 girls, right? So, as much as Lily is a really strong person, you can't necessarily be too unweighted. As it is, Lily's always going to have a hard time going up against a guy. Good for her, and she will give it everything that she's got. But is Georgia capable of taking on any of the guys in a challenge? Probably not. So I feel like I probably would have done the same thing.
James, right decision or not?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a tricky scenario, and like Mel and I, we've both been in this scenario where there's not many numbers left in the tribe, and like all the votes are kind of potentially going to be all over the place. I think if there's more numbers, more people in the tribe, like say if it was 8 people in there, then I feel like Hayley had the right idea of getting Georgia and trying to get some of the quieter under the radar players to stick together to take out someone, or someone who's people who are perceived as kind of weaker. But because there is such limited numbers, I think she just found herself in a tough position, and ultimately I think they made the right decision, especially if they wanted to potentially win some challenges early on.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. I was actually very impressed, and it's why I had Lily as my nominated first boot, being that on a game that is built around the connections and the people that we know, that Lily and Nick, apart from each other, seem to come in with no connections, and at no part there did Lily seem to be thought of as on the radar as an option. So as the series goes on, we'll obviously find out how deep these connections are. But I'd like to take the chance. And just to add one other thing before we get to Hayley, and then if you've got anything to add, I was really impressed with the way that Alex played the whole idol fight. I was also really impressed that I get the impression that Alex and Lily have hit it off really well, and that the power now sits with them in that part of the tribe. So I think that in the next episode, or whenever they go to Tribal Council again, I don't think it's a guarantee that Georgia will go, but I think that it will be Alex and Lily that determine if it's Georgia or Liam who are going to leave the tribe at that point.
Yeah, I don't. And again, that's what we were shown in terms of the strat. It was definitely Lily and Alex, and Alex is definitely smart. And one thing that none of us really did pick up outside of the fact that she's strong is that in her opening confessional, she talks about how well she knows the game and that she's going to be underestimated for it. And I kind of feel like that as an opening confessional is really foreshadowing her having a really strong strategic game. So it makes sense that those two are together, particularly if Liam's all like, oh, I want to have some fun. We'll see how it plays out.
James, before
they've got the majority. They've got Haley. No, sorry. They've got Lily. They've got Alex. And they've got Alex's shark that he sleeps with every night. So there's a majority there.
Aston always believed in you, Lily.
Yeah.
I know
one thing we haven't talked about, we kind of skipped from one challenge to the other. I know we've got to keep moving on, but we haven't even spoke about the fact that Kyle and Liam went to make that decision for the tribe. And the decision was to choose the large bag of fruit or the small bag of fruit with an immunity idol. I really thought they would have both gone balls to the wall and got the clue. But Liam was actually the first that spoke about, I did have to giggle because he's like, we're safe for like 3 rounds. Mate, it's LRG. Things happen like that in an LRG. You can never assume that you're going to be safe for 3 rounds. So I don't know, like what would you guys have, would you have gone for it?
Mate, absolutely go for it. It was the wrong decision purely because when you come back to tribe and you tell your story, nobody believes you no matter what. They're suspicious.
Hello?
So you may as well take the clue to the idol, and you never know if that'll help you down the track. And I have no doubt that James will tell us in a moment he would have done exactly the same thing.
And they had so much food already. It's not like people are going to be pissy about not getting some fruit.
I think Kyle
I disagree. I think Liam made the right decision, to be honest.
Okay.
I think, especially because, normally if you're, that big, strong bloke, normally you can get away with, I'm going to be safe for a few rounds, blah, 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 because I'm physically strong. But this cast is physically strong all around, so you probably can't get away with that. But I feel like if he does, I feel like that Liam, he was like, he made the right decision, valuing, actually, I'm going to try and build connections with people first, rather than, starting myself on the bottom by coming back with a clue and having an instant target on his back. So I personally think that Liam made the right decision, and Kyle was just like, yeah, whatever, dude. Like, yeah.
James, 10 players. You got no time to muck around. Just get out there, get your idol, use it later on when you need it.
Exactly. Okay, so we head to tribal now.
Oh yeah, I know what to do when it's 10 players, Malcom.
Good on you,
James.
Go, Bill.
Internet. All right, so we head to tribal council unless there's anyone else wants to add anything.
No, I think that it'll come up as the series goes on.
I will say, I just want to add one other point. What were your thoughts on Sean's his confessional after Cole came back and told the story? Just quickly, because Sean came back and said he seemed like he was very trusting, was like kind of like, yeah, this has merit.
Well, actually, I had that as a note as well. We kind of skipped over that section, but my question was: do we believe that Sean was actually like telling the truth? Although he was saying those words, there was something in his mannerisms that was still telling me he wasn't cool with it. And I'm wondering whether, because I perceive him to be someone who is probably going to want to take control, and maybe the fact that Kyle did take control, and which was unexpected from all of us. So maybe it threw him off a little bit and he was a little bit rattled as to, whether that was the truth or not. I know he said that, but do we believe him?
Look, I believe that you got no reason to lie in your confessional. I actually took it as a sign that Sean doesn't necessarily know a lot about the game of Survivor, and I actually thought he seemed too accepting of it.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
I
Alright, so we
100%
go
agree
to
with you, Malcolm, on that.
Cool. So we head to tribal, yeah. A little bit of chit chat across the map, but at the end of the day, there was one thing I wanted to touch on quickly, and we'll ask Hayley when she's here. In tribal council, Hayley says something that sparked my interest because something didn't sit well with me at the end of the immunity challenge. And basically she said that there was some type of miscommunication during that final leg of the immunity challenge, because it looked to me like they got to that map really, really similar time. And then it kind of cut away, and then it came back with the winners are the Rogers tribe. And Lily looked really pissed. I've got to say, she looked a little bit agitated. So I want to find out because Hayley does mention, I'm thinking it's Hayley or maybe it was Georgia, I'm not sure, was talking about the miscommunication. They say that the tribe is, got a really good dynamic. And then they talk about the idol pretty much. And then they go to vote. Any other points you got out of that?
I think we can get into the interview with Hayley and we can find out her.
Yeah.
Let's meet up.
I don't know how to add her in, but I'm sure someone does.
Aston's in the background. Welcome,
Hey, Hayley.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast. Sorry, we talked too much and we've gone a little bit over schedule. So thanks for waiting.
You're all good.
We've never experienced being the first boot, but all of us here are in the same company as you, that we've been voted out of our own respective games. So
someone has to do it, though.
How did you find the experience overall?
Yeah, no, it was really cool. It's something you don't really expect to get to do, or applying for the show, the real show, would be so much extra. But having like the low key environment of with people in a safe space, like it was really fun to experience even 1.5% of what you'd experience on the real thing. And it was amazing how real things got so quickly. Like it really just hit into it. Like I was there for maybe an hour. But all the confessionals you see, especially from that first episode, like we get straight to it. Like it's straight in there.
100%. Did you feel comfortable in front of the camera? Because it can take a little bit of an adjustment having a camera shoved in front of your face while you're trying to figure out, where you sit and what's happening. How did you handle that?
A bit weird. I think it was easier in the camp because it wasn't like directly right at your face, but in the confessional you're like, oh hi, like straight up there. And this was before we were all used to Zoom, so different times.
Very true.
When
very
did you
true.
film exactly, Hayley?
It was filmed in January 2020.
Oh, so just before we went into lockdowns, etc. Yeah.
I actually forgot I was sick actually, and then when I saw that on the video, I was like, "Oh shit, that was so bad of me!" Like everything's about to go down, and here I am, like, "Oh, I'm a bit sick, but it's fine." I think I was googling the real symptoms of COVID at the time, and I was like, "Pretty sure I'm not going to kill everyone today, but I really want to do this." So.
Yeah.
Just going into the challenge, Hayley. So I threw out the question before. Did you feel like you blew it? Was it just not working for you? Was Nick exceptional? And how did that play out? And how did you feel about that?
Both challenges.
Oh, particularly the immunity challenge.
Yeah. I think I heard you speaking earlier, and yes, there was confusion around the challenge.
Yeah.
I think particularly with Sam's speech in the editing, how they're like, oh, hang on, we just need to correct this. It just kind of all happened and we didn't really know what to do. I was fine with my performance. Like I just tried to keep calm and do what I had to do. And I thought actually Nick was cheating. At one point he lets go a lot of balls at once, and I'm kind of like seeing that on the side, being like, I feel like that's not the rules.
James is just in front. Yeah, Hayley.
Me.
James is going on a robot, so
I'll answer your question if you message me, James. I can see it.
Go again, James.
We don't even know if he's going to hear you. So when you say there was the miscommunication, was this in terms of, so obviously we saw that Sam talked for 45 minutes or so. I'm exaggerating now. But in there, did that mean, because I saw at the end there, Kyle seemed to get the bucket a little bit before, but when you saw the footage going down,
Lily was running further. To
And-
me, especially, it looked like Lily got there first physically. I think we didn't know which bucket to pick up because then
Right.
too, like we had all the balls were in the bucket at the end. So then we were like, oh, well, obviously we've just finished that. So you take the thing
That
that
bucket.
we finished down.
Yep.
But then it was like, oh no, we have to take these water buckets
The
down, and we
water
didn't really know
bucket,
when they got there. So they had to carry those down. So we were just sort of like trying to figure out what we were meant to take down, and it was just super unfortunate that it was a really really close.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, feel free to just call me an arsehole, Haley. Nah.
Everybody else does.
Oh, can you hear me now?
You said I'm allowed to call you an asshole, so that was good.
James, type a question in, mate.
Oh, James, what are we going to do with your internet? Jesus. While he unfreezes, how did the whole Brisbane Survivor, like, did you actually have to apply or were you approached? Like, how did the season start and how did you become involved?
So I played netball with Sam, and just throughout the time we've been playing that, you find out your friends watch Survivor. So, we'd talked about watching Survivor in the past. And just one day I checked my messages just before he messaged me on New Year's Eve. Hey, this is a weird message, but like, would you maybe want to do this thing? And I was like, sure, like that's cool. So yeah, just offered it, and good thing I didn't have to audition because maybe I wouldn't make it. But yeah, for sure, wanted to support my friend and have a bit of fun.
Excellent. And so, like, you talk about being a fan, like, how long have you watched the show? Like, what level of obsessedness are you?
I think I started watching the original season with my family. I would have been quite young, and I don't know from my conservative background how they were letting us watch Richard Hatch rip his sarong off and just go for it in a challenge. But I was there watching it. I can remember what house I was in. We moved a bit as a kid, and I can remember sitting on a specific couch in a specific room watching Survivor. I think we might have watched 30 seasons of the US one as a family. And then my husband and I, when we started dating, that was when Australian Survivor kicked off. So then we watched those seasons together. And I happened to be in the US in a casino in Vegas, and I found some Survivor shirts from the CBS shop. So I bought us matching shirts. So I made us wear them when we were watching the show together.
I
and
love
then
that. That's cool.
Yeah. My boyfriend was like, okay, sure. But I was like, this is so cute, couple shirts. And then watched every season. Then we kind of stopped watching the American one. It became a bit hard to do both. And then I've seen every Australian one except the second last season just now. Having it on 3 times a week is just a little bit prohibitive to watch.
It is a bit, it is a big
if the
much.
TV channels are listening, please make it 2 nights a week, Max.
Yeah, I agree, Haley.
Because I want to watch it. I just can't keep up.
Well,
Haley-
I've got a 2-part question for you, Haley. So, in your like, your part where we got to your little bio, where we got to know you, you said your favorite player was Luke Toki because he's mischievous, but he has a good heart. So the first part of the question I want to ask is, was there any sort of mischief that you got up to or you planned to sort of cause if you had made it a bit further, or that you even tried to in the episode that you're in?
Is James asking me a question because I can't hear him?
Yeah.
A paraphrase basically said that in your intro, you talked about Luke Toki being
Oh,
your
yeah.
favourite player. And so Luke Toki being a player that can get up to some mischief. So James is wondering, did you or were you planning to, or in terms of what were you going to do as far as mischief making was concerned?
Yeah, look, honestly, I'm probably an opposite person to Luke Toki and was not going to be capable of pulling any of that off. I love a lot of other reality TV trash, and I think it's just because it's opposite to who I am. So, no, I don't think I'm capable of being anything like Luke and how cheeky he is.
Well, the other part to my question is that you also said that you loved Luke because he had a good heart, and you also said in your that you're a really bad liar. Do you feel like your good heart and your skill to being a bad liar led to you, unfortunately being voted out first?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't actually have to do any lying. As you can heard, I literally straight out told Georgia, I'm going to vote for you if you don't vote with me. And I knew that I'd kind of have to say that. I wouldn't be like, oh, no, Georgia, I'm not going to vote for you, because I just knew she'd see straight through it. And it wasn't a malicious thing. I was like, honestly, if you don't work with me, I don't really have a choice but to vote with you. And I knew that's sort of the way I'd have to play it.
No, well, it's fair to say you were trying to civilly engineer some sort of vote.
I was. It was also my strategy. I was like, if you and me don't band together, like, I don't really have any other options.
Would you play again?
I don't know. Like no. Like, it was really fun, but I just think sort of, as you could see, like, I just can't put my body on the line like a lot of those other people. So I just sort of, I'm always going to be perceived as the one who should go first, because I'm not going to be willing to break an arm to throw myself on something. So I think watching is for me.
Well, I will say, like, it's not that it looks like this cast is an exceptionally physical cast.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
very different to most of the LRGs that we've seen again. So, I mean, I would always encourage anyone to have another go, because that's certainly not what the average challenge would be. I would perceive in other LRGs. And, you know, if you love the show, have another go.
It's true, Mike. Keep that in mind.
And all I will say as well, if you also, Haley, if you played on the same. Oh, sorry, Malcolm. You go. Age before beauty.
So Haley, after you guys lost the challenge and you came back, so obviously it looked like you and Georgia were the two names that were on the chopping block. How were you reading the situation as it was leading up into tribal? Like, did you think there was hope for you to survive? Did you know you were going? Where did you?
I didn't think there was any hope for me to survive. Also, I got pulled for a confessional straight after the challenge, and I was like, great, so I'm not going to be back at camp. I'm away. This isn't starting off well. And honestly, if I was them, I probably would have voted me off too. Like, I kind of could see it unfolding. Yeah.
I'll hand over
That's
to you, James.
The worst feeling when you really need to be strategizing and you get pulled for a confessional and you're like, go away, come back 10 minutes later.
I was like, they're all back there talking about me. How good.
Oh, goodness me. Any other questions for Haley?
Yes, please. I was just wanting to know, Haley, so you also did try and push for like a Liam vote. And I thought that was quite interesting, considering he was only one of the two people that you seem to actually know. So just wanted to kind of get a bit of, reasoning as to why you tried to target Liam rather than say someone you didn't know.
I can't quite remember, but I think maybe it didn't get heard right. I think maybe I was trying to talk to Liam to vote with us. Or if anyone had said Liam, I just would have said, sure, if anyone's voting anyone but me, all for it.
Okay, yep, that makes sense.
Cool.
So Haley,
it was really good watching you. Like I really thought you'd go a bit further than what you did. So I was kind of quite disappointed for you,
Haley, can I just ask you? So we made some assumptions before the season started as to where a merge would hit or what would happen as far as juries, all that sort of stuff. I don't know if you can or can't answer, but are you part of a jury or was your game over at that point in time?
I think I'm allowed to say this one. No, it wasn't, which was really nice. So I did get to form part of the jury, which was cool because then I got to still be involved. Like I hung out there all day, came in when needed. So that was really nice that even though my time got cut quite short, I could at least still enjoy the rest of the experience.
Oh, it would have been a double-edged backhand.
Yeah, that would have been so sad.
See you later, Haley. Especially when you're playing against people you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah, especially when you put your heart on the line, blood, sweat, and tears for, a snack box with chocolate and chips. I mean, it's like
did I put
that
my
would have
body
been absolutely shattering.
No.
But no, I think I can speak for all of us that we all three of us thought you really brought a great presence to the season, and we're glad that you felt like you had a positive experience despite unfortunately being, the first person voted out, and yeah, no, and I think Brisbane Survivor is better for having you on it.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. Thank you. No
Yeah,
worries.
it's never nice to be a first boot. It's not a fun experience, but I'm so glad that you got to be on the jury, and stay part. If your Brisbane Survivor crew are anything like what us in Canberra, like we're super tight. We're all still like yabbering on chats nearly every day now. So yeah, it's definitely a great community to be involved in. So do you watch any other LRGs? Do you watch like Perth or Melbourne or even Canberra?
No, sorry, I haven't watched any before. But yeah, I think maybe I'll have to now.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of seasons of Canberra that we could recommend.
And maybe even watching him and stuff, you may have that sort of that fire in your belly again to throw your hat in the ring. And I think if you did, I mean, I think you'd bring a lot of great qualities and assets. But obviously, it's if you feel comfortable, because it's always hard putting yourself out there like that. So
Definitely. And Aston's got a really good question. He wants to know, do you intend on crewing in future seasons?
Look, Sam had put a call out, and I didn't say yes, but maybe I should. I think it would be.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun.
It is actually a lot of fun being part of the crewing process, because it's basically like you get to see a whole season play out in front of your eyes, and you get to hear part of the story, and you're trying to piece it all together, every tribal, and then when you finally do get to watch it, so much of it is new anyway because you haven't seen all the bits and pieces.
It was funny too. We actually had a watch party for the first 5 episodes of Who Could Make It, and one of the guys on the crew was watching, and then someone said something funny in this episode, and they said that they just remember trying not to laugh. They remember filming it in real time and being like, oh no, I need to be professional, but like that was pretty funny.
Very much so. Yeah, there was a lot of we were lucky because we had our season 1 people from season 1 who we'd seen a little bit of, but we didn't know who won. It was really fun for them to do like sort of confessionals, because you kind of already been fangirling some of these players that, really loving the start of their game. And then there they are doing a confessional with you. And yeah, it's a really fun, it's a fun way to sort of interact with players that you've already been watching. And yeah, I just remember having a lot of laughs with the crew.
Fun day, exciting times.
If you crew Hayley, I believe that you'll meet Mel in person, because I believe Mel's already thrown a hat in the ring that she's going to come through for Brisbane.
Well, I haven't filled out the forms or anything, Mel, but it is definitely my intention to help Sam wherever I can.
Yeah, for sure. You should. It's great team.
Yeah, cool. All right. Anyone have anything else for Hayley? Because we need to wrap up.
Did you want to add anything, Hayley, that we've missed or not taken the chance to ask you?
Yeah, I think too it was a bit hard, like getting voted out first, that we went to tribal first, because you didn't really have time to make those relationships or know how people are going to take things. Like I kind of think maybe I thought I saw Alex try to go for the idol at the immunity table challenge, but then like I wasn't confident enough, and then I didn't know how to spin that, or who would believe me, or if it was true, how much that was going to be the hill I would die on. So I think it was just hard that like the first anything, you don't know what to go off. Like if anyone plays sports, like you play another team, and the first like two center passes, like you're still figuring out what kind of game you need to play by taking the situation in. So I think that's sort of my downfall, is it was just so early that there wasn't any time to sort of see the lay of the land too much. So
yeah, and it moves so quickly. Were you surprised by how quickly the game moves?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I was like, oh my goodness, we're going to get through what? And then it really was happening. So yeah. And then you get pulled for a confessional, and you're like, oh, well, now that 20 minutes is like 5. So
exactly.
No, they all did a good job. It was great.
Well, thank you very much, Hayley. It's been a pleasure having you on here. Obviously, you would have liked to have come later in the season, but someone's got to come first.
Now I get to watch the season and not have to watch myself on camera and enjoy it more. So I'm totally fine.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Hayley.
Cheers.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you,
You
Hayley.
too. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Oh, she's lovely.
Yeah, Hayley. What a great sport.
Yeah. And why do all the lovely ones always get voted out first?
Well, there might be 9 other lovelies there.
I mean, I'm not saying the others aren't, but yeah, it's a shame.
Well, we're not saying that others aren't, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to beat Hayley. Like, she's really set the bar high in that regard.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, James,
All
you're
right,
going to
well,
introduce something, are you?
What was that?
James is going to introduce.
Oh, we were going to do some awards. Yeah. So, James, you put some structure around it. So, do you want to talk about your OOO award?
Oh, okay. Give me 1 second. Let me just get this up. Oops. Here's something I forgot to get up earlier. Oops. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. So essentially, we've got the what we like to call for each episode. We're going to do the 3O, the Triple O awards. So that's essentially the motto for survivors who knows outwit, outplay, outlast, and each episode, each person that's doing the podcast is going to choose one category, and then they're going to cover one category and who they think which player filled that to the best of the criteria for that episode. So, so we'll start off with Malcom. So, Malcom, you had the outplay segment. So I guess some of the criteria is, how did you feel that that this particular player?
Yeah, no, James, he's got outlast. You've got the outwit.
Oh,
so you should go first.
yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Geez, throwing me under the bus here. All right. Okay. All right. So, okay, I had outwit. So essentially, for outwit, so it obviously means to deceive by greater ingenuity. How do they strategically gain upper hand? Was the decision plausible? Were their motives intentional? Was their vision or the story that they've sold people? Was it brought? Did other players buy it? And is it sustainable? So that's kind of some of the criteria that are for outwit. So I feel like that the player who best symbolized this for this episode was clearly Alex. Just by his idle play alone. I said it earlier in the episode, he was able to, kind of play it cool, stay style, and when other people threw out theories, he went along with it, and no one appears to be suspecting him, at least from what we see in the episode. Anyway, I feel like as well he also did, by staying quiet, he strategically, kept his position at the top of the tribe, it seems, at least in the short term. And I definitely think the motives behind it were very calculated, and he's gone away with murder. So, yes.
Cool. Well, I've got outplay. And so your criteria for outplay was basically how did they play better than their opponents? Did they utilize all their strengths? Did they outplay socially, strategically, or physically? And is how they outplayed likely to increase their threat level or go unnoticed? So I had my outplay award going to Kyle. I think that he was one of the standouts in the challenges. Up until that point, I really felt like Liam was going to be the challenge beast, but looking at how Kyle managed his in one-on-one matchup with Liam, he was definitely he did this massive sidestep and just completely befuddled Liam. And I think he's going to be a really strong presence in challenges. I also am giving him the award tonight because he gave a completely different impression on what we first thought he would be. I first thought he was going to be this chilled out dude, but I love that he kind of stepped up, took control of that decision about on the reward challenge. That could go wrong for some people. That could go really wrong because you kind of put a target on your back by not even asking your other tribe mates. But I mean, he's done it. He's come back. No one looks to be too salty over the fact that he didn't consult them, and he's kind of got that, I was just doing my thing kind of thing. I think he got away with that quite well. So yeah, I feel like he's also, to a degree, that's kind of a little bit of outplaying in terms of the social. He's outplaying them because he's kind of disguising his threat level a little bit as well. So yeah, I'm giving mine to Kyle.
All right, I'm doing Outlast. James, you can share the criteria if you want for that one, but
I've got it here. Do you want me to read it, Mal?
Go for it.
Save James getting up. So Outlast, you've got, were they in danger? Is it likely that they have improved their position in the game, or are they in danger of being next? Did they outlast physically, socially, strategically? Moving forward, what do they need to ensure they give themselves the best chance of not continuously being in trouble?
Yeah. All right. So not fitting that criteria, but I was actually thinking the Outlast Award should actually go to the whole cast who had to listen to Sam's ultimate ramble before the immunity challenge that they obviously didn't clearly understand, but they then did a great job in the editing to get past that. But for an individual player, I think that in the first episode, we have to go with Georgia. So obviously she was on the chopping block, as was Hayley, but Georgia very consciously got around to all the players, put the work in, and as we just sort of heard from Hayley, it didn't seem like Georgia was in as much danger as what Hayley was in that regard, but she obviously put the work in to put herself in a place to go there. And I feel that she may have actually done the work well enough that if they were to go back to tribal in the next episode, I think she might even survive over Liam. So I'm going to give it to Georgia.
Okay, excellent. Tying into, I know, James, you've got some memes, but one thing that we haven't really covered yet, which I think we should, is favourite moments. And you touched on it just then, Mal, but that whole Sam narrating Sam segment, I just adored it. Like, I really, and it's very much who I see Sam to be. Like, it is a lot of, it takes a lot of work to pull one of these LRG seasons off, and we're all aware of that. And, I have crewed on other seasons, outside of Canberra, and there's a big learning curve. So for him to find such a fun way of dealing with that issue, and we know sometimes the footage gets lost and there's all sorts of things that he could have just easily re-recorded himself giving that instruction, but he chose this path. And I just think it was just so unique, so great. I absolutely loved it. Like, it was hilarious. What did you guys think?
I second your thoughts there, Mel. What about you, James? What was your highlight moment?
That wasn't my highlight, but I did love it. And I'm kind of like, Sam, I want you to release the whole, 6 minutes, just to kind of see if we would understand the challenge. But my favorite moment, well, I mentioned it earlier in episode. I'm a 23-year-old male. I love sport. I see a bloke get poleaxed. I laugh and I love it. So my favorite moment was Liam absolutely running through Shannon, sitting him on his ass to claim the point. Sorry, Sean, but yeah, that was my favorite moment and definitely gave me a bit of a laugh.
And can we thank the editors for that sound effect as well? That was just...
Well, I liked both of your moments, but I'm going to take a different moment, and I think I'm taking this moment from a strategical and where it's going to lead in the game. So a real favourite moment of mine was when Lily found the idol clue and the way that she actually played that. So she obviously had to share it and read it, but Alex threw out the idea, like, you found it, you take it, and she just played that off straight. No, don't want that. And so that idea of, like, I'm not going to put a big target on myself right from the word go. And I think that the connection that may have been built there between Lily and Alex will pay dividends down the track. So for me, that was a real highlight moment.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
All right. So just lastly, before we shut this off, One hardcore prediction, what's going to happen next week?
My gut feel is that Orange is a much stronger tribe. I feel like the Soames tribe is going back to tribal council. And much as you might not like it, I do kind of feel that Georgia might be the next to go. But you're right, James. It could very well be Liam because he said he's not here for winning. So maybe he does something, to be dangerous, like our little orca here, and puts a little target on his back. So I'm predicting that Blue go back to tribal, and it's either going to be Georgia or Liam.
All right, I'm going to throw out that we're going to have an Orange tribe win. I'd say their names, but I've never been good at that, even in my own season. And we're going to see Kyle leave the game.
Oh, is that based on your predictions?
Well, it is actually, yes. But, it is. I did have Kyle coming ninth. But I don't know that Kyle was really reading the game as super well. He'll go on and win this thing and just prove me totally wrong there. But I'm going to go with Kyle leaving next week.
What about you, James?
I also agree with Malcolm in regards to I think we'll see an Orange tribal. And yeah, I honestly don't know. After kind of seeing some of the dynamics, I honestly don't know who it could be, to be honest with you. For the boot order that Mel and I put together, in regards to both having us Nick as first boot, we're praying that it will be that, but also not, because we want to see more Nick content. But I'm going to predict that we're going to see. I'm going to predict that we're going to see like a really sort of fun, sort of big sort of cocky confessional from someone in this next episode, and I reckon Alex is the guy to do it.
And who, Alex?
Alex, yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
So James, you're finishing the whole podcast off. I believe you've got some memes for us.
I do have some memes. So I put together a couple of memes for. So the first meme is, if you can bring it up right now, essentially to give it a bit of background, Sam, to come in for the immunity challenge, Blue Tribe, so someone's there sort of saying, oh yeah, we're all hungry, we're pretty full, we had plenty of macadamia nuts, but Andy tops it. Andy goes, you know what, that's cool, you have macadamias and all, but we have a tree. So if we can just bring up, yes, if we can bring up this meme. So let me see if we can find it, or if our producer will bring it up.
I will say I did really like that moment as well, James. I thought that was a good little sledge. We don't need your bloody shelter. We've got a tree.
And while James brings that. Mel, can you give your fan a shout out?
Oh, Valencia. Thank you, Valencia. That's very sweet.
We've just had a message from our producer that he's actually been kicked out for some reason at the moment. So, James, James, are you able to get the power to share? Or
I can't because I'm on my phone.
Oh, there we go.
So you want to? Oh no, not that one. That's the second one. The other one.
Oh.
There you go.
So
Andy just coming through, being like, "We've got a tree, bitches." Like, can't top that. And then the second meme we have is going on the guy who's also giving off big orca energy, Alex, being a bit cocky in that challenge, where he where it was playfully teasing and goading Nick. So Kyle, when he threw the ball underneath Nick's legs, he was like, "Yo, you know what? I'm going to end this guy. I'm going to end his whole career." So let's bring this meme up.
I did really love that moment. That was priceless.
Nice work, James.
So that's what we've got from the meme zone for this week.
All right. Was anything else we're about to wrap it up? Anything else you guys want to add?
All good to wrap.
Cool. Well, we'll be back. The episode will air this Wednesday at 7:30 for episode 2. And we'll be back on Monday. Not 100% which 3 of us will be here, but either the 3 of us or Aston, we'll be able to catch up then. So thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you very much.
All right. See you
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.